NFL Network has reported that the Giants are a possibility now for Tom Brady. And we have bandied about the possibility of Brady in New York, either with the Jets or the Giants. I mean, you've got a guy in Daniel Jones, second year of his contract. You can tell him, take a seat for Tom Brady for a year. A little bit awkward, but you got a new coaching staff, Joe Judge, the former Patriots assistant, tied to Tom Brady. It's fascinating to think that Brady would do the ultimate if you can't beat him, join him move.
I know earlier in the show, I talked about the Redskins maybe already moving on from Dwayne Haskins. I think Dwayne Haskins and moving on from him is totally different than moving on from someone like Daniel Jones.
It would be temporary, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be temporary?
But yes, it would. I'm just trying to, because you hear these reports, right? And then you start trying to connect the dots. Does it make sense? Like, is Tom, he's played much better than I think he was given credit for last year. But is
Thank you.
Yeah, but is he that much of a let's stunt the growth of the player that we selected with a top 10 pick in Daniel Jones, who had some very promising moments, who's not just this, weak arm quarterback that hit throws in short to intermediate areas. No, he wants to attack down the field. There's a lot of good to build on. Now, you can eliminate a lot of mistakes that Daniel Jones had last year, but this isn't a situation where I think Tom Brady would make sense at all. Would it for you?
Well, here's where Tom Brady makes sense, and this is a point I've been making this week. It kind of crystallized for me the other day. You will have the Patriots make a football decision regarding Tom Brady, and that football decision will drive how much they're willing to pay him. How much can he help them win? And that's Bill Belichick's MO. He's not going to pay Tom Brady a premium because he's good for business. There will be teams out there that will pay Tom Brady more because he's good for business. Now, I don't know that the Giants will view it that way, but this is kind of a fractured and staggering brand right now. And every team says they want to win. But for a lot of teams, the way you win is with the almighty dollar. Ticket sales, suite sales, jersey sales. Can you imagine a New York Giants Tom Brady 12 jersey? Right? I mean,
no, I can't.
Right? And that's why teams like the Giants and the Raiders. Think about Tom Brady as the L.A. Raiders quarterback. It's about dollars and cents. It's about bringing people to Las Vegas.
Right. So that makes sense, right? Because you can. The path that you're creating here of money in the end, again, going back to CBA talks, that money speaks, and building somewhat of a brand around a new identity. You have your identity, though, with the Giants. One, it's that red and blue. It's Saquon Barkley. And I really think, and I was a major critic of Daniel Jones entering the NFL, but every time you watch him, there were positives. This isn't a player that you want to stunt their growth. And I don't think Daniel Jones is the type that would get upset by that at all. He certainly doesn't seem like that type of personality. But this is not a situation where, okay, we know who we have in Derek Carr. We know what our ceiling is with him. It's not very high. And John Gruden constantly is looking outside the building and being attracted to other quarterback options. I do not understand the, connecting the dots here with Tom Brady and the New York Giants at all.
Well, it would be intriguing.
So it's going to happen.
Say the least.
That's what I mean.
For them, exactly. For the Giants to finally float Eli Manning on an iceberg and go out and sign a free agent 3 years older than Eli Manning, it would be phenomenal. I've been kind of quietly rooting for the Cowboys to get in on this because that would be the greatest story of all time.
You love chaos.
I love chaos, and this is close to it. And who knows, maybe the Giants are being leaked to kind of get Jerry Jones' interest, because we were saying yesterday, look, okay, Chargers and Raiders, makes business sense for them to want Tom Brady. Doesn't make sense for Tom Brady to jump into the AFC West with Patrick Mahomes as a twice-a-year competitor, and you're not going to dominate the division the way you dominated the AFC East. You got to go to the NFC. Which division is the most likely for you to dominate? Well, it would be the NFC East, because the NFC East stunk last year. They got 3 new coaches. Granted, one of them is in Dallas. But if Jerry Jones decides, I've had enough of Dak Prescott's demands, and you know what? He's priced himself out of our league, and no one's going to pay him this kind of money. We'll tag him and we'll trade him, and we'll just pay Tom Brady, and we'll go all in for 1 year, maybe 2, with Mike McCarthy and our offensive line and Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper in this defense. They could become good enough that they could run roughshod over the division, fatten up their record, get the 1 seed, which is going to be even more important now that they expand the playoffs, and the road to the Super Bowl goes through Dallas.
I want these dominoes to fall, though. And if the Tom Brady domino does fall to a different team, then it sets up a wheel of change throughout the NFL.
Unbelievable. That we've never seen before.
I am terrified, though, because I also want chaos. I want news. I like new. And I am a little nervous that everyone's kind of just going to go back to their homes, the places that they have been connected to this entire time. And then we're left with, wherever Marcus Mariota goes and obviously Phillip Rivers and a Teddy Bridgewater. And that's as exciting as it gets.
But even if Brady stays put, it's going to be chaotic. It's maximum chaos if he leaves. And I just think that there will be someone that from a business standpoint recognizes the value of Tom Brady to the extent that the offer that team makes will be dramatically more than what the Patriots offer. That Bill Belichick, look, when the report came out on Super Bowl Sunday that the Patriots are willing to pay Tom Brady more than $30 million a year, yeah, Robert Kraft is willing to write the check.
Yes.
But Bill Belichick is the guy who's got the purse strings. And if he doesn't want to do it as a football proposition, if he'd rather spend that $30 million on other players on the roster and trust Jared Stidham or go out and wait for the dominoes to fall and go bargain shopping for the guy who's left standing when the music stops, whether it's Andy Dalton or whoever, that may be from a – and here's the reason why Tom Brady's always taken less. He's not taken less because he's a good team player. He's taken less because he has always feared this moment where Bill Belichick views him as being more expensive than he's worth. And if these other teams start lining up with $35 million a year or more, we think Patrick Mahomes is going to be a $40 million a year guy. Brady could be the first $40 million a year guy. There could be a team out there that says it's worth it to us to pay it to him. Belichick's not going to do it. That's when you leave.
Being down in Miami for Super Bowl week, being here this week, it's, continuously floated in the worst kept secret that Bill Belichick wants to try his team without Tom Brady.
Right.
And
people in the Patriots organization are preparing for Tom Brady to leave. Not that he's going to, but they're prepared. And you have to. Look, a good organization has to be ready for that eventuality, but there are people who fear that he's going to leave. And how do you paint it in a way that you're not the bad guy in Tom Brady choosing to move on?
But even saying that, and, we had Tom Curran on our podcast back during our time in Miami, and he said, this decision is going to finally be Bill's. But I feel like every time we move closer to the decision date, it might not be. Like, it might be a Robert Kraft injection here that Tom Brady is back.
That's a heck of a risk because then you've undermined Bill Belichick, the guy who's got 6 Super Bowl championships. Look, he didn't get involved with Bledsoe, and there were some comments recently that were dusted off from Robert Kraft when they moved on from Drew Bledsoe. He didn't like it. That you don't allow yourself, you shouldn't allow yourself to get an emotional attachment to any player unless you are disciplined enough to say, I'm willing to defer to my coach and let him make the decision. I think Robert Kraft is.
We're thinking about this all from the team perspective. What about from Tom Brady's perspective? What do you think is most attractive for Brady in a suitor? Is it offensive line so he doesn't get hit as often, so he plays in a much cleaner structure? Is it weapons? Is it location? What is it, do you think?
I think it's a bunch of different factors. And I think one of it is he wants to feel appreciated by Bill Belichick, who's not wired to do that. We were talking the other night, I was talking to somebody about Teddy Bruschi when he retired, and Bill Belichick, he was the ultimate Patriot. He went above and beyond the call, did everything we were on him. Teddy Bruschi's like, I wish you would have said that to me once during my career. He's just not wired to do what Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady, after 20 years, wants a little something from Bill Belichick that he's never gotten, and I don't think he's ever going to get it. And look, after the Combine, if there isn't a deal done within a week or so to stay in New England, I think Tom Brady will be sitting back, waiting for the suitors to show up. He'll have a throne, he'll have a crown, and they'll come in one at a time, and they'll try to convince him to become the newest quarterback of their team and make them a lot of money along the way.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.